1, 2, 3. What's going on, everyone? I got another amp dyno. I know it's been a little while since we dynoed anything. I think the last thing we did was the Kicker 250. Now, this amp I got on Marketplace. Not even Marketplace, it was an auction, and a few people know where I pick up my amps, and I get these things for a steal sometimes. And sometimes they don't work, sometimes they do, and when they do, it makes it worth it. Now, this is an old school, early 2000s Sony XM. Oh, I got it upside down. I can't even tell. Sony XM 444 watt. Old school 4-channel amplifier. The main thing about this amp that I just love is the 3D design that it has. If you just take a look at this thing, man, it's just beautiful in so many ways, with the heat sink and the colors and just how everything is 3D looking. I really like that. And obviously you have your input section and your normal dials, but nothing extraordinary. Just a 80 hertz crossover slope, your high level input and your low level input and gain. And on this side, they're all spade terminals. You got your 4 channels right there, your 40 amps of fusing, and your power remote and ground. Now, it looks like the most you can really fit in here is like 8 gauge wire. Now, this amp isn't going to be pulling a serious amount of power, but for anything, I would recommend a little bit bigger and maybe a distributor in your trunk to downsize the wire, stuff like that. But yeah, this amp is really cool, and I can't wait to see what kind of numbers it does. It says it does 35 RMS at 4 ohms by 4 and 40 RMS by 4 at 2 ohms. And they got some little bit weird THD ratings, so we're just going to go with 1% THD, see what it does, and go from there. So without further ado, let's go to the test bench and see what kind of numbers this amp, this old school Sony Explode 444 watt can do. All right, we have the Sony XM 444 watt on the bench. We're going to find out if this thing actually does 444 watts. So what we're going to do up first, we're just going to test just one channel. We will test all 4 at once, but right now we're just going to test one channel at 4 ohms and see what it can do certified. We do have 2 channels running to give a little bit of power being demanded from this amplifier, just to put it through a little bit of a ringer, but not too much right now. So let's do the 4 ohm certified run. All right, the Sony's got some different ratings. It says that it's rated at 35 RMS at 0.04% THD at 4 ohms. Then there's another rating for at 1% THD. Well, actually it says 0.1 THD. Yeah, I mean, in the manual here, it says, okay, so this amp is rated at 35 watts by 4 at 4 ohms. And let's see, it says 80 watts by 2 at 4 ohms, but that's like a 2 ohm rating that we're going to see what it does. And at 2 ohms per channel, it says 40 watts. So altogether, pretty much 160 watts that this thing says it will do. Now, and it's weird on the THD ratings, it says 0.04 and 0.1. I don't know if that's a typo or what. I did do some earlier testing on it, and I couldn't get anything below 0.1 on the THD no matter what. So maybe that's just my kind of testing equipment or not. But without further ado, let's do the 4 ohm certified run, 1% THD. All right, not bad. We got 34 watts at 4.4 ohms. So we are a little bit higher on the ohmage, but nonetheless, it's still doing roughly rated. And we were pulling 10.5 amps. on that run with the 2 channels driven, so around 70 watts. But we were pulling 150 watts it look like on the DC current. Now this is the first time I'm using this, so bear with me. Now let's just see what this will do. Full tilt boogie at 4 ohms on one channel. All right, we got a lot of clipping there, about 16% distortion. So let's just run that again. Try to keep it up around 10% distortion. But nonetheless, you still got 60 watts out of it on one channel at 4 ohms. But that's actually on the amplifier, it's doing twice that, but we're not seeing that. We're just testing for 1. So let's do that one more time, see what we can get. About 10% THD. Not bad. So we'll say 50 watts. We'll just say 50 watts uncertified, up to about 8.8% THD, a little bit over the 4 ohm rating, but that's not bad for one channel at 4 ohms. Now, up next, we're going to wire this whole amplifier down to 2 ohms per channel. It will be at 4 ohms bridged, but we're going to be testing all channels. Actually, you know what? I don't know if I want to test all or just one, but have them all driven. I feel like we could test them all and then see how much power it does all together. See if we can get that 444 watts. So bear with me. I know it'll be a second for you, but it'll be about 2 minutes for me. Let me rewire this amp, and so we can do the 2 ohm certified run. All right, we got that all squared away, all wired up. Now this thing is rated at 40 watts RMS at 2 ohms by 4. So it was rated at 35 watts at 4 ohms, only 40 watts at 2 ohms. And with my previous testing, kind of makes sense. So let's see what we can get. 2 ohms. Now this is all 4 channels driven, all 4 channels clamped. So we should see 160 watts, 40 by 4. Wow, pulling 20 amps or 300 watts of power to be able to do 122 watts. The efficiency on that is not too good. But nonetheless, we did, looks like 30 watts on all 4 channels driven at 4 ohms at 1% THD. Not bad. I mean, this amp is small. It's got a 40 amp fuse, and you know, we already pulled buku amount of power out of this thing. Maybe we could do 440 watts DC inrush current, but let's just see how much more power we can get at a uncertified number. Let's try to keep it under 10% THD and see if we can get to 444. I'm not too sure about that, but maybe we can get the 40 by 4, the 160 watts. Let's see if we can at least get the RMS rating uncertified. Not bad. We pulled 24 amps of current and we did 192 watts, close to our 4 ohm rating at 12% THD. I know we were up to like 170, 180 watts under the 10%. So regardless, we got the rating rated number. We almost got 50 watts out of each channel on this thing. And I mean, this is a pretty small amp and it's not the most efficient, as you can tell. We were able to get some pretty decent power out of this thing, nonetheless. All right, we're gonna try some lower ohm test, because that was 2 ohms per channel that we did. Let's see if we can go a little lower. Maybe we'll just pop a fuse and not blow this thing up. All right, well, we almost got the 4 ohm rating of 160 watts on all 4 channels at 2 ohms, but running down to 1.5 per channel, close to that 1% THD. So not too bad. We were able to get a little bit more power out of this thing, but I think this thing was really pulling some current. It's getting really hot on the one side, I mean kind of everywhere, but mostly this side. So this must be where the output section is. Pretty warm. Now, we weren't able to get to 444 watts, but we were pretty close on this, I gotta say. Let me see that one more time. Nope. Went to protect at 361 watts. She went to protect at 3.1 ohms. And I think the power went up. Yeah, we got the 160 RMS. We got it. A little bit past clipping. But as you can see, we were just wired way too low and almost got to 444 watts. Voltage has been fine the whole time, and it's sad that they put 444 watts on here, but you got to say it passed. It did its RMS rating, and max power for the win. Well, guys, tell me what you guys think about this amp. I think it did pretty good. It did rated numbers, except the 2 ohm run, where the only way it was able to get the rated numbers was past THD. Now that could be the way I test things, so take my testing with a grain of salt. Maybe compared to some other amp dynos that use a resistive load, I use real world testing in a way where I wire down load to get a set impedance, so it is what a speaker will actually do. So regardless with that, I mean, we got pretty close. This thing was pulling some power, man. Almost 400 watts in rush, so not the most efficient, but it wasn't really designed in that way to be the most efficient. Efficiency back then and even before really wasn't a contributing factor of how things were, but in a way that's just how things were designed then compared to now, so you can't be too hard on it. But again, I just love the design of this amp. I think it is the coolest looking thing. It is so sleek and it's just different. And I'm not a huge Sony fan, but I never had problem with Sony products other than this camera for live streams. But otherwise, I think it did really good. And I just want to say thank you guys for watching. I'll have another Sony Explode amp coming up next. Just a little teaser for you guys. This one's going to be a 600 watt amp, a little bit newer, but still pretty old school in my opinion. So thank you guys for watching. I just want to say I appreciate all my patrons, everyone that joins in on the lives every Friday that I do on my channel after the Rolling Thunder. And if you've seen this video, I've already been on the Sound Advice podcast, and that was a blast. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Oh.
Put that bad boy into protect by accident. There we go. Well, on the Sony, there is not an automatic turn on for when it goes in protect. It just goes into protect, and then you have to undo it yourself, at least with a grounding issue. I grounded out the amplifier with a screwdriver because it was on positive terminal. Case is a ground. Bada bing, bada boom. Nothing crazy, but it did go into protect nonetheless.
I'm out of here.